Hello guys, welcome to the first video in my Learning Tanks series, where I will help you to get better in World of Tanks. Considering this is part 1, we'll first have to figure out what we are working with. This means learning about our current strengths and weaknesses. But first things first, who am I and why should you care? My name is Devyros. Some people might already know me from the World of Tanks Discord or some other source. I play World of Tanks rather seriously. I currently am playing at a 3 to 3,500 recent WN8 rating. According to tomato.gg, etc., this makes me end up somewhere in the top 1% of players on EU, which I've been doing consistently for the past 5 to 6 years, where I've also been consistently in the top 20 clans as well. So why did I decide to start doing this? The reason is quite simple. Many people want to have a solid source of information which gets updated frequently. They want to learn the game, improve their skills, or learn a new mechanic. Most content nowadays is a YouTube short that results out of a stream where things are explained quite quickly and without any context added to them. Wargaming themselves made videos more than 5 years ago about mechanics, but these are basically obsolete due to all of the patches over all these years that we've gotten in World of Tanks. I also want to prove to you that almost anyone can reach their goals within reason, given some guidance and practice. The game is going to be more fun the better you are and the more you know about it. Trust me, I've been there. Considering that I've started my journey of learning World of Tanks as a 600 player more than 10 years ago, ending up now at 3,500 recents, and I'm still improving, which should be a proof of concept. Looking at the fact that you went out of your way to watch a video about getting better means that you've shown to yourself that you're willing to improve. The goal of these videos is to give you guys the ability to understand how you can improve and learn long term, instead of only learning specifics. I'll try to teach you these mechanics in a meaningful way, where you know why and when to use them, rather than just knowing how to use them. I'd also like to teach you critical thinking skills within World of Tanks that will make understanding and picking up new skills much easier in the future. So let's see what we're working with. If I were to ask you to rate yourself from very bad to very good, where would you say you are right now? Average? Below average? Granted, you wouldn't be sure. This happens due to World of Tanks' inherent lack of an obvious ranking system similar to, let's say, League of Legends or Counter-Strike. World of Tanks uses a rather very vague World of Tanks rating system, where being a bronze player is practically impossible unless actively trolling, whereas it's a rather common rank in, let's say, League of Legends. Establishing guidelines. To do this, I'm going to attach a color to each of the 5 levels, where red represents 1 point, yellow 2, green 3, and so on. I'll also add a brief explanation of the expectations for each of the levels. This way, you can put yourself into the level that would represent you the most and add it to your total score. In case you cannot find yourself within any of these levels, you'll enter 0 points. Don't worry, I'll be going way deeper into these topics in future videos. This is simply to assess yourself for where you are right now in the game. Tank knowledge. In level 1, we can find a player that is unfamiliar with tanks in general. They likely know the basic classes like heavy tanks, mediums, and so on. However, specific tactics and pros and cons of these vehicles are usually not on their mind. In level 2, we'll find a player who knows some tanks' capabilities, like which tanks have armor, or knowing which ones are mobile. They probably know a few tanks quite well, mainly tanks they enjoy or have heard a lot about. And they know their weak spots on these vehicles to some degree, but not much more details about these vehicles' strengths and weaknesses. Within level 3, the player is able to know most common tanks' weak spots. They know basic information about most tanks, their features, sometimes alpha damage and reload times, though rare tanks or uncommon tanks will catch this player off guard, as well as hectic situations. In level 4, this player will know most tanks by heart. They know the reload of tanks pretty well, they know the strengths of their own vehicle and can plan accordingly, though they don't quite know all the weaknesses. Therefore, they get caught off guard by very exotic tanks or stressful situations as well. Within the last level, here players have almost flawless knowledge of all tanks in the game. Know their penetration values, the weak spots, reload times, damage like max rolls and min rolls, giving them all the knowledge that is needed in a fight, even while they're under pressure. Map knowledge. Within level 1, players will either follow the team or drive towards the next sniper, hill, or bush they can find, regardless of the tank they're playing. They basically go to the next most convenient position they can find. Within level 2, players will still follow a very similar approach. They might use a position for the entirety of a battle, but they will use these positions according to their tank class. So they wouldn't go into a city with a heavy tank or use a bush with a tank destroyer. Within level 3, the player will know standard positions very well. That can be very strong in combination with their tank. They will, however, know barely any positions to counter enemy positions with. Within level 4, this type of player usually knows most strong positions on the map, which tanks can be used on these positions, which can't, and they're also able to use uncommon positions to counter standard positions that the enemy is using. Within level 5, players know all maps like their back pocket. They know the timings on these maps, they know pretty much all angles, especially ones that counter the enemy positions. They're able to reach specific positions with climbs, for example, which starts to become a key factor at that level as well. Aiming and penetration. Within level 1, you will find players who have basic knowledge of the aiming mechanic, meaning they will know how to put their crosshair on an enemy and how to fire. They have a very faint idea of how penetrations work, they either deal damage or they don't. Players within level 2 understand the basics of aiming, how the aiming circle works and how to somewhat reliably hit their target, but they struggle with penetration mechanics as well, why their rounds aren't penetrating consistently. Players within the next level understand aiming fairly well, and they will know how to aim for weak spots. They also show a higher degree of knowledge about penetration mechanics, that they need to aim for weak armor to consistently deal damage. Moving up the levels, players will generally understand aiming to the fullest. They will know weak spots and how to hit them reliably. They will also know about advanced things like overmatch, as well as using blind shots on a regular basis, as well as the correct shell type for the correct job. Within the last level, a player will know aiming inside out. They are extremely consistent and reliably hit their weak spots, being able to blind shot consistently, making quick decisions, and aiming well even under pressure. Game sense. The first level will consist of players who struggle to read the minimap. They struggle to know what is happening within 100 meters of their tank. They end up consistently in bad positions like open fields or sideways onto enemies without being able to move. They're usually overly aggressive. Within the next level you see is a similar picture. They generally try to come up with a plan for the first move, but they will stick to it regardless of what is happening within the battle, ending up out of position rather often. Due to the lack of experience, they are still either too aggressive or have turned too passive. Level 3 is where you will find players which are able to track what is going on around them, where enemies are in relation to them, and what opportunities they might have against them. They're able to see and realize what is going on the minimap, and they might try to react accordingly. Starting to get into the territory of players that are able to predict moves on the minimap by simply reading where enemies got spotted the last time. They're able to track what is going on around them while in a firefight, and they try to punish enemy mistakes rather consistently. Within the last level, we're going to see players who have mastered the minimap. They're able to predict enemy positions by simply looking at what tanks are on the enemy team. They also have no problems with multitasking within a fight against multiple enemies. They're able to rotate quickly and efficiently to evade, punish, or stop enemies without problems, as well as punishing every enemy mistake. Vision mechanics. In level 1, a player will usually have no further knowledge of the spotting system other than being able to see or not see enemies. When they die without seeing the enemy, they're usually confused onto why and how they got destroyed by an invisible enemy. Within the second one, players start to know that bushes give camouflage if used, though the correct use of them is still rather rare. Getting destroyed by an unspotted enemy usually results in confusion about how they themselves got spotted or how the enemy wasn't spotted. Players in the third level will understand the importance of view range. They're more capable of using bushes and double bushes. They're somewhat comfortable shooting from these bushes. They're able to use these mechanics to some extent, as well as knowing about more hidden ones like proxy ranges, view ranges, and render ranges. Within the fourth level, players are capable of using and abusing bushes to a great extent. They know how to fire from bushes without getting spotted consistently, they know which bushes will result in great outcomes, and how to use their view range to the fullest, including the proper use of equipment like CVS. Coming to the fifth level, a player will basically know the mechanics inside out. They know how to use bushes to the maximum, being able to outplay enemies using the vision system alone, knowing when to spot, how to spot efficiently, etc. Assessing yourself. Alright, now that we've taken a look at these points, I'd like to think about where you would place yourself within these levels. Done? Now, go ahead, watch some replays of yourself playing, while keeping these factors in mind, and place yourself again. Okay, now let's take a look and compare our results. As an example, we'll assume that you've rated yourself within level 3 in 3 of those categories, and level 4 in the remaining 2. This means you'd end up with 17 points, which on our scale puts you about here. Now, go and check your own statistics on tomato.gg. This website has become one of the best sites to track your recent statistics, as well as server statistics and much more. It's overall a great tool to use to track your progress. Due to us using WN8 now as our metric from now on, let me just explain what it actually is and what it means. WN8 reflects your ability to deal damage, destroy enemies, win battles. The bigger the number, the better you are. Granted, it's not the be-all, end-all of statistics, but it's a decent starting point and it's a great help along the way to keep track of your current progress. Simply take your score, multiply it by 100. In our example, this would be 1700 WN8. Now look up your account, take a look at your 30 days WN8 rating to see if you're within the same ballpark. I'm going to say like plus minus 300 is perfectly fine. But let's assume you've checked your tomato.gg and it reveals that your actual WN8 is 900. So that would be a rating of 9, which is closer to here. But that's nowhere close to where you feel like your skill level is, right? Let's analyze your assessment. If we take a closer look, we'll basically end up with 3 options. The first option is you've overestimated yourself. It is very common to overestimate yourself on your own skills. My honest tip would be rewatch these replays with a friend that is statistically either a better player or at least on the same level as you are. Option 2 is the system must be broken. WN8 doesn't work, you are a good player, there's nothing you could improve. Once again, grab a friend, rewatch these replays, and you will probably find something that is wrong. Or option 3, the game must be rigged and Wargaming hates you because you don't pay enough money. Well, I guess we only have 2 options then. And if we take a closer look, both of these options are very, very similar. You probably overestimate yourself, which isn't a bad thing in itself. It only turns into one if you refuse to improve yourself due to being overconfident. Obviously, in case you might not have any friends within your own skill level or an above skill level, there's also the possibility of just joining a Discord server like the World of Tanks Discord, maybe linking them my video and asking them to rate you based on these categories that I've shown you in this video, which is also a thing to assess yourself. But let's use the assessment. So after you've reassessed yourself with the help of your friends or a friend or a Discord member or whoever you used, your ranking should more accurately reflect your current statistics, ergo reflecting your current knowledge. Therefore, we have now a baseline to work and improve upon. So let's say if you've rated yourself something like this, meaning you struggle in areas while being comparably good in 2 other areas. This means you know exactly what to focus on in the future, and it would be these 3 points. So you should work on your map knowledge, your game sense, and take a look at the vision system within the game. You should always aim to focus on your lowest level skills, because these are usually the easiest to improve, and due to your knowledge within other areas of the game, these get easier to learn. So this brings us to the point that all 5 of these skills are interconnected to a certain degree, meaning you'll be unable to improve on a skill and neglecting the others. This implies the more you learn about one area, you either learn something new from another area automatically, or you will fail to learn in your current area due to it being dependent on another area. Prime example being game sense, which is very dependent on like tank knowledge and map knowledge, because if you don't know how fast a tank is going, you can't predict them. Now that you've learned how to assess your strengths and weaknesses, it is time to work on these weaknesses. Obviously, practice helps a lot, while keeping in mind that continuously assessing yourself is a great way to track your progress and which areas you need to focus on and which you feel comfortable in. You won't need to do a full reassessment every time, but you'll be able to tell in the specific areas when you're making progress. If not, asking a friend or a Discord member or whoever you know to watch some replays with you to reassess yourself will absolutely do the trick. Before we come to an end, let me just throw out some basic tips that will make your life a lot easier regardless if you're a new player or a veteran player. Using resources like tanks.gg to check armor models and details about tanks is a great way to improve your knowledge of the game. Using tomato.gg is an extremely nice way to track your personal progress, how far you've come, and analyzing the recent battles you fought. When it comes to mods within World of Tanks, keep it to a minimum. You do not need new icons, some fancy aiming circle and reticles and whatnot. Instead, I would recommend you to look into the settings of World of Tanks, because these are extremely crucial when it comes to visibility and playability of World of Tanks, which is why my next video is going to be about the settings of World of Tanks and how to min-max these. And with that, I would like to thank you guys for watching to the end. I hope you could already learn something about yourself. If you've got any type of feedback for the next videos, please let me know. If you've got any specific topics you want me to talk about, please tell me about that in the comments. And I hope to see you in a future video, and take care.